are going to be successful in any blockchain project. So let's go on to the next one. So we think it's unlikely a tulip craze anymore because there is actually underlying value. And that's what I think you need to be asking yourselves all and to be relentless about is, are we doing blockchain for the sake of blockchain, or is blockchain and crypto adding some underlying value that is better and easier and cheaper than doing it some other way? Because if a spreadsheet can more cheaply and easily solve the problem, then that's probably the solution, not a blockchain solution. So it's not, you know, it is not a solution for absolutely everything. So let's go on to the next one. We talked about how important it is for the ecosystem to maturing. We think that there will continue to be dead coins, dead companies, dead ideas, but that is how these fantastic new ideas coming. We see all sorts of maturing ideas coming, reputable companies. We see the IBM Maersk, we see Binance, we see Coinbase, and we see Microsoft. So we see this ecosystem really, really beginning to mature from the time that Satoshi put out his white paper and said, I've got a new idea. So it's really amazing in the last decade how far we've come. Let's go on to the next one. So we also know that from niche uses to mainstream adoption, from a Dogecoin to a Facebook coin, that we know that if in fact Facebook does launch their coin in first quarter of next year, for all of us geeks, Bitcoin was interesting and we've seen a huge market on it. Your mother will probably know what crypto is when Facecoin starts using coins, or your next door neighbor who is an active Facebook user but doesn't fancy themselves a technologist. So I think that we will see Facebook help in terms of mainstream adoption of crypto. Next one. We also think that the regulatory cloud will begin to be lifted. We're seeing clear legal operations with the bit licenses, although we're seeing, I think there's only been, I may have this wrong, about only 19 bit licenses that have been released from the state of New York. So
that's correct.
Is that right? So
yeah.
I think it's still an emerging area. So I'd say we're still at the very, very front end. I was talking to somebody in the US government who frankly I know better, who says, I hate Bitcoin and I hate crypto and I hate blockchain. And I said, boy, you're just dead wrong on this one. So I think it's that there's still a lot of education that needs to be made on the regulatory side. But I think that those conversations are importantly beginning to happen. And I think they're beginning to happen globally in a way that I think we'll see first mover advantage on the regulatory side, not just happen in the US, but happening in other parts of the world that I think will be important. Any other comments from you all? Anand or Dev on this?
No, not.
Yeah, no, I think this is definitely something the whole industry is waiting for, and even they're like they want the U.S. government to act and then set out rules so that innovation can happen in the U.S. as well. I mean, like if you see the internet, all internet innovation was pretty much driven by the Silicon Valley. I'm biased because I live in the Valley, I can say that, but the same thing is not true for all the crypto innovation, right? Like there has been a long regulatory cloud over what is right and what is wrong, which has driven companies away from the United States. And I think with the government paving way for clear legal operation, I think things will keep getting better, and more companies will spring up in the US, which will be operating legally. So I think it'll be fun to watch that.
Yeah, yeah. And I also think that some of this will evolve and as we get all more experience, but I think that most of the big players are looking for some regulatory guardrails, as we talked about before. I think it is necessary now to put some of that down so that some of the bad actors and some of the speculation that is not helpful to anybody get sort of fleshed out. So let's go on to the next slide. We also see it on the exchange side. Exchanges, unfair, unsafe, unregulated exchanges are just a bad idea. It's like that person that knocks on your door or sends you an email saying, "Have I got a deal for you?" If it looks too good to be true, it probably isn't. And so getting regulated FDIC insured operators in here, Coinbase, Gemini, those are just really those are just really great additions. It makes average people much more secure, much more willing to use this. And we're also beginning to see it show up on ATM machines. I was at my local grocery store and saw on a Coinstar machine that I could get Bitcoin. I think he said he'd fire anybody who worked at JP Morgan who was caught trading in cryptos. And now he's at the top of the list of the believers. So I actually believe that we ought to be able to change our mind in life, either as politicians or as CEOs. So I actually give him a lot of credit. So JP Morgan, as we said, has created a digital coin, and I expect to see him as and JP Morgan as one of the major players globally in this area. So cut your colleagues a little slack. As I said, I suspect that some of the people it's like smokers who become the most anti-vigilant anti-smokers that you ever see. So if there's people in your company or neighbors or friends or technologists, cut them a little slack if they've been anti-Bitcoin. Give them an opportunity to come around, because they may be the Jamie Dimons in your life. But also listen to why they are opposed to it, because there might be some wisdom in there, and we can continue to listen and learn from all the naysayers. So any thoughts about what the naysayers are saying today that Anand or Deva should be paying attention to?
One thing is the security comes up a lot, and the scalability. Scalability is one of the biggest naysayers. Bitcoin can process only few records. But PayPal and Visa can transfer so many and do so many transactions. I think Lightning networks and all, they're going to solve soon.
Yeah, but it's not entirely wrong either. The fact of the matter is that Visa today can process payments substantially by orders of magnitude faster than Bitcoin. So it's a yes and. Today, that's true that Bitcoin is not able to scale. The issue is that problem solvable or not? And I think I hear you saying, and I would agree, that it in fact will be solved. Deva?
Yeah, so I think the biggest naysayers right now are those who are doubting mainstream adoption, right? Like technical barriers aside, people are just not confident on whether a blockchain kind of digital currency coin will be adopted by the mainstream. I think we'll see how the next few years pan out, and then as more real companies start issuing their own digital currencies, I think that'll probably also be gone and solved. But I think that from my point of view, that is the class of naysayers that I am interested in seeing how it evolves.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that as I say as an entrepreneur, I think that we need to continue to keep a spoonful of humble pie every day. And
Yeah.
we need to listen to our naysayers because they're going to actually provide us a lot of insights into the holes in the system that we need to keep filling and keep innovating on in order to make it robust and to make the great leaps forward. Great. Let's go to the next slide. So we think the future is promising. We believe blockchain technology is here to stay. We're excited about what you'll contribute, and we thank you for participating. We know that you have lots of ideas. We think it's amazing the amount of work that you've done in the last 2 months. It's been a heavy, heavy lift, and we know that you are going to be the star of your dining room table or your next office meeting. And we would just continue to suggest that you look at news feeds, that you continue to stay on top. Now that you have this knowledge, just continue to be voracious learners. So we're going to answer a couple more questions before we go, but just as some concluding remarks, besides just deep appreciation, Deva and Anand, do you have any thing that you'd like to add?
Yeah, so there are a couple of questions, a good segue into that.
Okay.
Some people are asking, is there a way to value blockchain instruments right now? Theoretically, is there a way to value these instruments like Bitcoin and others?
Well, I think that, it's like valuing a company. I think that, I think that each crypto, each token or each coin is valued differently, and it's based on, and each company is valued, each blockchain company is valued differently. And the market ultimately values it, and it values it based on the amount of customers that are using it, the perceived value that they are providing, and what the substitute is. So it's that combination that that the market is constantly addressing and constantly putting a value on, and that changes on a daily basis. And so if one is wanting to decide, should I hold on to Bitcoin, you have to say, how widely is it used? How easy is it to be substituted? And what's the growth in the market? If it's a blockchain technology, if it's a blockchain company, whether it's an exchange, how widely is it used? What's its growth prospects? And what's its stickiness? So I think for each of those, it's not any different than valuing an existing company.
Yeah, that's correct, Mara. I'm more interested in the blockchain than the Bitcoins or Ethereums. Blockchain as a fundamentally is changing the technology landscape. I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. And I think if you're looking at a blockchain company, it's you got to look at the team. Because at the end of the day, if you remember the slide a few minutes ago, it's about flawless execution. And so you can have the greatest idea in the world, you can have the greatest IP, intellectual property and technology, but if you can't actually execute because you have a team, you have the wrong team, then it doesn't matter. So I actually think, unlike the stock market, if you look at the team, past performance is an indication of the future. So if that team has performed exceptionally well in the past, I think there's a good chance you can bet on them for the future. Where certain pieces of information will only be transparent to certain parts of the supply chain. So in that sense, it will be a hybrid. But Deva, do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think you can draw a lot of parallels from the internet, from the present cloud technologies, And that kind of will give you a hint of how the blockchain technologies will also move. I mean, in the spectrum of adoption for blockchain, right, on the one end, you have Bitcoin where everything's open. Every transaction that you make on the network is traceable, and you can go all the way back to the beginning of time. And then you have other blockchains that are in the middle, like Monero and Zcash, where a lot of things are transparent and can be optionally transparent and can be hidden sometimes. And then on the other side, you have completely private blockchains like Microsoft's implementation on Azure or AWS's implementation on Ethereum, where it's 100% private. But there are blockchains in the middle which are hybrid. David Johnston previously started a company called Factom, which is really popular and was one of the hybrid approaches for blockchains, where a lot of the transaction is hidden, but the hash itself of the blockchain is made public, which is a hybrid approach. So I think that there'll be a wide spectrum of implementations. Hybrid is definitely some of them.
So I know we're out of time, but I'd like to end with this question and get each of you to respond to it. And that is, Jody asks, what suggestions do you have for us to get involved in the blockchain ecosystem if we're not working with the large corporate? So I challenged everybody on this in this webinar to remain involved and stay active in blockchain. So she understandably asked, well, how do we stay involved in blockchain if we're not working in a large corporate? So how would you answer that?
Yeah, so I think Anand had a good answer there. He said get involved in hackathons and then talk to, I'll let Anand elaborate on that one. But from my point of view, the easiest way to be involved in blockchain is to stay on top of the news. Just like blockchain is, almost everything can be done online. So join Facebook groups, join Telegram groups, join WhatsApp groups where people talk about the blockchain, and then just make friends, grow your network, keep on the know-how on what's going on in the latest, keep your ears open, and then if there is a problem that you can solve with the blockchain, with the real application, go for it. And I think the world is, the blockchain ecosystem moves so dramatically and quickly that being in some of these groups is really important for you to get the latest news. And that's my main suggestion, to find the groups on Facebook. Just start off by joining the Facebook Ethereum group. You'll make a lot of friends there, and then from there you can keep making new friends.
So before Anand, you add something, let me just add something to Deva. That is, to the extent that you can, raise your hand and contribute to something. So don't just be a passive bystander. So let's say you're a lawyer by background. All of a sudden, get up to speed on some aspect of it, whether it's HR, whether it's, something that you can contribute. So, or you're a technologist, learn how to code or something, or you're a supply chain expert, or you're a finance person. But don't just be a passive consumer of all that news or all those blockchain or WhatsApp groups. Think about how you can contribute, because that's the way that you really create the connectivity in that ecosystem. Now, maybe at first you won't feel comfortable doing, but I bet you know more than you think. And hopefully you've learned something in this class. Even if you just start dialoguing, you will find that you'll build relationships that will be incredibly valuable. How would you suggest to Jody and others that they build their network and stay involved?
Yeah, that's a great point that you added, Maura. Don't be a passive listener, be a contributor. I think that's a great message that you're giving. For me, it depends on how you contribute. It depends on the personality. For me, I was scared of blockchain, so I took a dive right into the hackathons. And it was very enlightening for me because I was on the ground listening to different ideas and how we can apply these technologies. I think that's a great way to start. Just join the hackathon, even if you don't know the coding, just be there, just be a participant, listen to, talk to people, and be an entrepreneur on those teams to come up with ideas, and rest of them will code for.
Right. So be the business person, be the non-technologist, even if you don't. That's a great suggestion. Well, we are more than out of time, but we are so excited to have been able to be on this journey for the last 2 months. We hope that you will suggest this course to your friends and family and colleagues, because we will repeat it again and again. But on behalf of Anna and Deva, Wes and Hamed, who is not here, emeritus in Berkeley, we'd like to just, from the bottom of our hearts, say thank you so much for participating in this course and giving us the opportunity to learn alongside you. So thanks so much.
Yep. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.